So I'm just actually at one of in fact Amber's favourite walk at the River Skell in Ripon. She loves to swim across here. We bring her here every few days for a good run around, and I was feeling really compelled to talk about discernment. It's always an important subject, discernment. It often comes up at events, usually along the lines of how do I know or discern that I'm following the path of my heart. And there's some simple ways that one can establish that, especially if it's around an insight or something that's come up unexpectedly, usually on first awareness. That which has come up and presented itself as an invitation in life, it will feel expansive, inviting, uplifting, opening, to a greater possibility, and it'll feel like that upon first awareness. And especially if that comes up as a surprise, that's often a great indicator, in fact it's a very good indicator, that this is something that you should pursue further. Quite often though, a short while afterwards, maybe 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever, mind starts to kick in, and what felt like a really inspirational awareness when you started off, mind will start bringing up all sorts of fears about it, start questioning whether it was such a good idea after all. Now, if that first awareness was uplifting, inspiring, opening and surprising and all those kinds of energies, it's that bit that you can trust, and you can't trust the mind's doubts about it, because it will always bring up your fears. So the opportunity there is to face the fears, to witness the fears and dissolve them from the space of awareness. And as I'm sure many have heard me say many times, my live stream 11 is all about that, really, transmuting fear into love. So this is a good process, because the process of dissolving will bring you to a deeper clarity on anything in life, really. So this is a good way of discerning ways forward spiritually. Whether you want to listen to this video, for instance, whether you want to read a book by a particular person, whether you want to follow some particular spiritual pointings, it's always a good idea to look inside and see what the heart has to say about it before pursuing a particular course of action. Particularly when it comes to spiritual teachings as well, because I've heard of so many horror stories of people being conned or been to all sorts of horrific things where people have been asked to do certain things in pursuit of the path of spiritual self-realization. And the thing about spiritual self-realization is there is no doing. Really, there is no doing. It's a realization. And that does require you to dissolve all that you are not. But that's not a doing, that's an allowing. That's a dissolution. It's not an action in the traditional sense. There is no thing that you have to do to be the realized self. You are already it. The question then is, are you open to that awareness? And are you prepared to face your beliefs that are limiting you to the idea that you are the body-mind, which is a false belief, and opening to the realization there really isn't anything you have to do. One is already this. But being open to the realization is critical. And that may call for inspired action, but that's not a doing, that's an invitation, that's an allowing, an opening. But then there's also discernment in ordinary life. I've lost count over the years how many times on this platform, like Facebook for instance, but you could say that in other walks of life as well, how much misinformation is around, and that's particularly prevalent in the present times, and that's because there's so much fear around, really. And if there's one way to control people, it's through fear. In fact, really, fear is the only vehicle through which you can control people. Love, on the other hand, invites people to step into their power. It's an expansive, it's a freeing, it's a liberating energy, whereas fear is controlling and leads to control. It's coming from the mind. There was just a classic example of not using discernment I saw just the other day. There's one of thousands, I could have, probably hundreds maybe, would be more accurate, over the last few months I've seen and over the last few years. It was being shared, a document was being shared as of being from an official body, this particular document, and I thought, oh, this might be interesting to have a look at. It's an official document from an organisation that people would probably have heard of. But as soon as I looked at it, I thought, it was, first of all, it was a picture taken of this document purporting to be a leaflet, and I read the bit that I thought might be of interest. And the first thing that jumped out to me was the language, heavy use of capitals, spelling mistakes, grammar, words missing. And the thing is, this was being promoted to promote a particular agenda that somebody had. So I thought, well, I'll just check the official source of this body and see what it says about this issue. And of course, it turned out within a minute or two to be completely contrary to the advice on this purported document from same body. And the thing about it, this document had been shared probably best part of 100 times, which means that thousands of people are likely to have seen it. And quite a lot of those people, from the comments I saw, were actually believing what was said in this document. But there were also a number who had realised it was fake. They too had done a quick check and discerned that this actually wasn't actually a true document. But unfortunately, the person sharing it hadn't responded to the comments that it was in fact fake and was still supporting the agenda. Now, I'm not trying to criticise anybody here. What my point is around discernment. Discernment's very, very important in everyday life as well, and particularly when it comes to spirituality. So particularly in times of such unprecedented change, challenging circumstances, it brings up all our fears to be faced and dissolved. So it's always worth taking just that little bit of extra time to discern if a piece of information that you're seeing, hearing, noticing, particularly if it's on a social media platform or indeed even official documents, can be very fear promoting. just take a time to look inside, see whether this really resonates, or is it something that's really working on your fears, your belief systems. And if it's that, then face those fears. Do your research, look inside as well, because the best barometer ultimately you'll find is your own inner knowing. You'll just know. And it's becoming familiar with what your yes, your inner yes is, which is expansive, opening, uplifting, and your no, which, you know, will be a kind of pushing away, contracting, or some other similar energy. Incredibly important, this, in life. You know, we all have the capacity to discern. It's worth taking some time over it, and if you can't decide there and then, take longer. Take an hour, take 2 hours, take 2 days, take 2 weeks. Really, if it's particularly important, don't jump to conclusions. And when it comes to spiritual self-realization, there are no conclusions to jump to. There's only a realization of what's truly here, that you are indeed infinite awareness, infinite silence. And you don't need to believe anything I say about it, because actually that's not going to get you anywhere. It's only going to be a realization that comes from within. So remember this: fear is control, love is expansive, inviting, uplifting. Remember that when with anything in life, it's fear that's going to control and love that's going to invite expansion. So that's pretty much all I wanted to say from me and Amber here. There she is at the River Skell in near Ripon, or in fact in Ripon, North Yorkshire. Have a great day and be discerning. Bye now.